No, I don't think it's pure evil, and I have my reasons, and I'm going to share them with you. But before I do that, I'd like to sort of recap a lot of the things that I've been talking about in my recent 10, 15, 20 videos or so. And essentially, the crux of it, the meat and the butter is this matrix that we're living in is some kind of control system designed by purpose, intent, and intelligence to farm and harvest the soul energy of human beings and animals through the mechanism of suffering, because in the astral planes there are these entities, they're non-physical, and in the same way that we here as animals and humans and plants, we eat different forms of energy and food, and it's physical most of the time. Plants get the water, but they get the sun. Animals and humans, they eat physical food, but then of course you can transition out of that. Anyways, different video. In the same way, we eat, these beings in the astral plane, their food is emotion, and these negative entities feed off the suffering of humanity. I've talked a lot about these things. Society worships Saturn. That's plainly obvious. I made a 37 minute video on that. You can watch it if you haven't done so. It is undeniable. Society worships Saturn. Saturn is Satan. And so it is a control system, and you got to ask yourself, why is everybody that's in positions of power evil? Because they're all in it together. It's like George Carlin says, it's a big club and you ain't in it. So our world, I talked in a very recent video about nature being an absolute horror show, a bullying playground where everything is bullying everything, trying to eat it. It's a predatory world. So when you look at all of that, it becomes very easy to adopt the worldview that this matrix is pure evil, and it's kind of hard to argue against that. But I'm gonna make the arguments here, and I think they're compelling arguments. So, like I said, you can observe things and say, well, it's all evil. Now, however, so this is number one. If I was an evil creator, so I'm trying now to figure out the question here, is this pure evil? Okay, so let's take a look at the human body. The human body is actually designed to be immortal. Have you ever wondered why when you cut your finger, the wound heals within like a few days? Like it just completely heals. When you get sick, you heal. Why is that? Because the human body is actually designed for, if not immortality, a very long life. You hear about those people, those so-called prophets in the Bible, in the Quran, in all these different books, and how they lived like it says Noah lived 900 years. You hear all these stories. It's not just biblical accounts, it's also accounts from all these different cultures. If you look at the Sumerian line of kings, some of these kings were there for a long time, man. Like a long ass time. And the Sumerians were very good bookkeepers. So, they some of these dates are ridiculous. I don't know if it's they dated differently or whatever, but you hear about human beings at some point in time living really long lives. In truth, the human body is designed for immortality. But if you want to argue against that, we can agree that it's designed to live for a very long time. Now, there are some people right now, like Brian Johnson and some other people, they actually, like Brian Johnson believes he can live. He's immortal. He believes he's not going to die, right? And it's admirable. It really is, because he's definitely onto something in that regard. I don't exactly agree with his approach and taking 100 pills and all that, but I like his idea. I like his thinking, his way of thinking, and he's not the only one trying to do that. So in truth, the human body is designed for immortality. Now, if I was an evil creator and I wanted to harvest as much suffering, I would not design physical vehicles, physical bodies that are capable of healing themselves. That to me is one of several cues to why the Matrix is not pure evil and the original creation. Now, the Gnostics think it's all evil, and there's lots of people right now, it's called like the soul trap community, right? They think it's all pure evil, and they think the controllers control every single aspect of it. And I definitely thought of that for some time until I started thinking, well, hold on. If I was an evil creator, I would not create a system in which the organisms are capable of essentially living forever. And if not forever, like I said, like why would you create bodies that heal themselves, that are self-sustaining in that way? Like they don't actually, you don't, your body just heals everything, man. Like fasting will heal just about anything, right? So if I was an evil creator, I would not create a system in which organisms are self-sustaining, self-healing. Now, this is why these controllers are poisoning everything. They're poisoning the food, they're poisoning the water, they're poisoning the air, they're poisoning the minds, corrupting the youth, etc., etc., etc. It's because they're fighting against a force that they did not create. Now, we'll get to that in a second. They did not create the system like this. Because if they did, if I was an evil creator, like, come on, I would want everything to be dependent on me. So I would not create bodies that are able to heal and are theoretically designed for immortality. I would create them to suffer. Like, hey, if you cut your finger, it's not gonna heal, and I'm gonna give you pills and I'm gonna give you that. Now, what they did is they poisoned and poisoned and poisoned, so they can tell you, hey, here's the pill, here is this, here is that, here is. So now they're controlling you, because they like, why would you go through all these hoops and have to poison and this and that and fool people, instead of just creating a creation in which the bodies are completely like designed to not heal, to suffer, right? And in truth, like human body, if it's treated really well from birth, like there's no suffering in there. It's a very nice existence. It's very self-sustaining, self-healing. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful existence. You don't need pharmaceuticals. You don't even need food really, if you want to get at a higher level too. If I was an evil creator, I would not create that. If I was a benevolent creator, I certainly would. And so to me, that's one cue as to why the original creation, this creation that we're in, as horrific as it is now, is not pure evil and was not originally designed and created by an evil entity. So that's one cue for me. Cue number two: the controllers, the rulers, the archons. The word archon means ruler. The orchestrators and the gatekeepers of the Matrix, the Agent Smiths of this world, require your consent. Now again, if I was an evil creator and I created this system, like if it's all pure evil, why the fuck would I need your consent? Why wouldn't I just blitzkrieg my way through the whole thing? Why do they require your consent? Now, I got a theory about that. If you stick with me to the video, it's very compelling and interesting. But if I was an evil creator, I would, fuck you, man. I don't need your consent. I created this hellhole, and I'm gonna do whatever the fuck I want. I own you. I own everything in it. But that's not the case. They need your consent with everything, man. They need your consent with everything. Sometimes you get forced into things. And so I also have a theory on that. We'll get there in a second. So it's not 100% that they're always, but actually when they try to force their way, they know there are consequences for that. We'll talk about that in a second. Just stick with me, please. But in general, as a rule of thumb, they require your consent with everything. Not at least 90%, if not more, of the people worldwide that took the jab did it willingly. Yes, they did it willingly. My parents took it willingly. They took it willingly. Now, there has been efforts made by the medical industry, by the job market, and all the major institutions to make you think you have to do it. But I talked in a previous video how there are accounts of people, you can just look this up on YouTube, that I've heard a story of a nurse that used a loophole. There's loopholes in the system, man. There's loopholes. They leave that on purpose. They have to do it. They have to do it. They leave that on purpose. Where you can say it's my religion, because of my religion or because of this or that, I cannot take a vaccine. And then that's it. And you keep your job. 90% of people have not been forced to take it. And that's the same. I mean, virtually 100% of the people are not forced to eat crappy food at McDonald's. You know, they're not forced to do it. They just do it. Because there is certain programming that is going on, certain orchestration in the matrix to make you do that. But like in general, as a rule of thumb, like they need your consent with cookies. They need your consent with everything, man. They need your consent to track you, you know, because it's something they have to follow. Why do they have to follow that? If I'm an evil creator, man, fuck you, man, fuck you. I'm gonna do whatever I want. Like, I'm gonna do whatever I want. I'm the creator. I'm the evil guy here. I'm Sauron. Like, who cares? Why do I need your consent? Why do I need all these loopholes to put you in a system? I own you. But that's not the case. That's not the case. They make it very complicated with legalese, like the legal system, and they make the language so difficult and challenging. But when you start to really, there's a guy, some of you guys I'm sure know him. His name is Chris Manley. A really, really amazing, inspiring guy. I think he's one of those guys that's a legit breatharian, right? But he's not just into that. He's into sovereign living, and he was able to, he studied. From what little I know about this, he basically freed himself from the system using like certain forms. You opt out of certain things. They have left every means to you to opt out of the system and be living sovereign. Every means, because they need your consent. Why? If I'm an evil guy, why do I need to do that? Why do I give you a way out? Yes, I make it complicated. I coerce you. I make you think you have to do something that you don't have to do. But if I'm an evil creator, if this is like a pure evil creator, like, why do all of that, man? Like, fuck you. Fuck you. I own you. But that's not the case. They don't own you because I don't think the place is pure evil. And number 3, and my third cue as to why the Matrix is not pure evil, they have to tell you the truth. Again, why? The truth is in all the movies. The Matrix is like practically a documentary. The Truman Show. They have been, telling people that 9/11 is going to happen, like from the 80s. Like there's like, there's a whole video I watched. It's like 10 minutes, and it shows you all the 9/11 symbology in the 80s and the 90s. It's crazy. It's crazy. But they have to tell you the truth, and they have to tell you the truth. So the truth is everywhere. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. It's all hidden, but in plain sight. Again, if I'm evil, why do I give a shit? Why do I give a shit? Why do I tell you the truth? Who gives a shit? Like, I own you, bitch. Like, why am I telling you the truth? Right? Well, again, so that to me is a cue that it's not pure evil. Now, let's get into some of the interesting theories. So, I've been down a rabbit hole, and I'm not deep in the rabbit hole yet, but I'm actually looking at different sources that are sort of independent and in different realms. And it seems to me that at some point in time, there was a big war, let's simplify it, between the good guys and the bad guys. Now, who the good guys, who the bad guys? Star Wars. Star Wars is that's basically what happened. Star Wars. So, if you look at the pyramids, and not just the pyramids in Egypt, but also the pyramids in in Mexico and in different places, you will see that the way they're built is in perfect alignment with certain constellations and with the sun. And it seemed like, the pyramids, let's be honest, they had help. Like, it's either the Nephilim who built it, or they just straight up had help, like from external entities that are not of this earth, external, extraterrestrial. So Star Wars is essentially what it is, right? Now, don't be fooled into the NASA narrative. If you think that we're on a spinning ball and you think space is the way they tell you, then man, like, I got a pen to sell you for $2 million. Now give me my $2 million, okay? Don't be fooled by that. But nevertheless, those stars are portals. Yeah, these stars are portals. They're portals into other dimensions with their own people, with their own customs and tradition and language and everything. So at some point in time, seems to be that way, again, it's a theory, there seems to have been a war between the good guys and the bad guys, and the bad guys won. And that's why they're in control of this. However, with war, anytime there is a war and somebody wins and somebody loses, they sit down on a table and they come up with treaties. So it seems to me that these, the good guys and the bad guys came up with a treaty saying, well, you guys won, so here you go. But let's maybe it's possible that it might have been a stalemate and the good guys just said, hey, look, we don't want to keep fighting. Who knows? But let's just say the bad guys won. It's all theories here we're playing with. And they wrote up a They wrote up a treaty, and part of the treaty says, okay, you gotta tell people the truth. You gotta somehow let people know the truth, and you gotta keep a way out for people that want to opt out of the system. And that's why these people tell you the truth in movies, tell you the truth in books, tell you the truth everywhere. And that's why they need your consent with everything. And that's why the body is self-healing, because it's not an inherently evil creation. In fact, I think it's very benevolent. I think the original creation was a very benevolent place by a very benevolent creator. But what happened along the way, I don't know. But it's clear that the bad guys have to abide by something, some law, something, some treaty, something like that. And if it was a purely evil universe and a purely evil creator, why go through all of that? Like, why? Why tell people the truth? Why? You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't make sense. If I'm an evil creator, man, like, I'm gonna be fucking evil. I'm gonna make a true hell. And this is not a true hell. It's not a true hell. It is not a true hell. You want a true hell, bro? Like, do you want me to give you ideas here about what true hell is? True hell is a body that doesn't heal, for example. You create bodies that don't heal. Once they're damaged, they're damaged. That's it, they're damaged. And then you keep recycling through the reincarnation system and the soul trick, and, the false white light. You keep just cycling them, suffering. You wouldn't even leave the chance for people to be sovereign and in self-sustaining bodies and self-healing bodies, because that goes against everything that evil is, which is control and the harvesting of pain and suffering and fear. You don't create bodies that are actually designed for immortality, that are designed for total well-being and total, wellness. You don't do that if you're an evil creator, and you certainly don't need people's consent. You just force your way through everything. It seems to me, I think it's plausible that at some point the bad guys won, and that's why they're in control. However, a treaty was signed at some point. And so, here's the thing. Sometimes the bad guys will force themselves. It's not always that they're taking your consent. But I think personally, in those treaties or whatever it is, I think the good guys now have the... I know it sounds like so simplistic. Good guys, bad guys, but just for the sake of discussion here, I think if the bad guys break certain laws, like they're not telling you the truth, they're forcing themselves instead of getting your consent, I think the good guys can actually interfere. And so that's why the bad guys try not to force themselves, try to abide by the laws of consent and give people a way to opt out and be sovereign, so that the good guys don't intervene. So it might have been that the bad guys won, but it wasn't an overwhelming win that they can do whatever they want. But really, I don't find any compelling argument to tell me that this is just a pure evil, like the Gnostic version of it, like just pure, utter evil. Now, you can say, well, why is everything eating everything? Why is it a predatory world? Why lions and wolves exist? And why is everything eating everything? I mean, I got eaten by mosquitoes, man. Oh my God, I got freaking destroyed. They sucked my blood. They were feasting on me for a few days. got a little cooler now, so I'm actually enjoying that there's no bugs. But we had like a 4-day, 30 degrees. They feasted on me, man. They feasted on me. It's a predatory world. Well, why is that? Well, that's because the bad guys took over. So they brought all these carnivorous animals, and they changed certain programs. Like I love that I'm playing games now because it teaches me a lot about life. You know, like the devs sometimes, they'll install a patch. Yeah, like they'll install a patch, or they'll install a DLC. So now you have new content. It's the same thing. So if the bad guys won, they take over the planet, and now they patch it. They introduce carnivorous animals, they introduce predators, they rebalance the system in a way, and now you have a predatory world. I don't think this world originally, I think this world was very benevolent, and that's why nature is beautiful. I think nature is beautiful, and you feel this beauty in it, is because it's the image of a very benevolent creator. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened along the way, but it definitely seems like the bad guys won and they're in control, but their actions are not unchecked. They're not unchecked. Man, if I was an evil creator, bro, do you know how much worse this place could be if it was just pure evil? Think about it for a second.